So today we are going to do the handover video on the Elddis Majestic 185. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, if we open up the diesel point, you can see your diesel fill-up point is up at the top and you've got AdBlue on this vehicle, which is down at the bottom. Opening up the passenger door, you can see you've got access into the cabin. Here you have got Remis cab blinds fitted to this model. All you need to do is simply pinch the two tabs here to release it. That will then line up and connect via the magnetic strip at the front. You've got these on both your windows, including your front windscreen as well, and as you can see they neatly tuck in. When using these, lead from the bottom, as they do often get caught at the bottom, so it will just stop that risk. And then when you're putting it back, just guard it, as I say, be gentle and simply connect it into place like so. And as a rule of thumb with the motorhome is if it feels like something's being forced, you are probably doing something wrong. So just take your time, bear in mind that obviously it is a motorhome and not something that's that obviously is something that is very robust. So just bear that in mind. Now on this side you have got your bonnet release catch. Coming over to the front of the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here. The main things that you need to know is if you're ever going to jump start the vehicle. I'll pop the bonnet now and I'll show you where that can be done from. And with the bonnet open, you can see that your negative terminal just connects onto this point here, and your positive terminal just connects underneath this cap. On this cap there is a plus sign to indicate that this is positive. Just flick this cap up, there'll be a little tab, and then you connect your positive onto there. As I mentioned, they're the main things that you need to know, but just to point out a couple more bits. You've got your brake disc fluid here, your engine oil is just below along with your dipstick, and at the side you've got your engine coolant, your power steering fluid, and finally your washer fluid in the corner there. Have a move around the vehicle. You can see on this side of the vehicle you've got your fridge vents. Now please bear in mind if it is a hot day, it's quite a warm day today, obviously the fridge is going to struggle pulling air in. To work it more efficiently, to run it more efficiently rather, try and keep this area in shade. That will just help the fridge to pull its air in and obviously cool the fridge. Just allow it to run a little bit more efficiently. You can also see you've got some vents here as well, and then towards the back, behind the back wheel, you've got your fill-up point for your fresh water tank. So when you're on site, you'll have a food grade hose pipe which will connect into your tank. This just simply removes by using your key, and the hose pipe will then connect to your tap on site, and then you can fill up the fresh water tank. When it's overflowing, you're obviously full, and then you can put the cap back on and move on to your pitch. So it's dead easy and dead simple with that, and then you fill up the fresh water. Underneath that directly, you can see that you've got a little shower point on here. There'll be somewhere in the vehicle where you have that shower point nozzle, or hose rather, which will just connect onto this nozzle, and then you can use it. Obviously you'll need your pump on for that to operate, and I'll show you how to do that when we are on the inside of the vehicle. Well, there's your external shower. Next to that, you've then got a locker here. This houses your leisure battery, which I'll just open for you now. And as you can see with this open, you've got access to the leisure battery along with the connector point for your 230 volt mains. So when you're on site, simply feed the mains through here and the lead can just drop out through the bottom, and then you can shut the locker and lock it in place. But as I say, this is where you can access your leisure battery should you ever need to. You shouldn't really need to, you just leave that connected. It's really just for the for the technicians if we ever want to take a look at the battery health and change obviously the battery itself. Directly underneath the locker, you'll notice you've got two taps. Now these are your drain down points. You've got three main drain down points in the vehicle. You've got your wastewater, your fresh water, and your boiler drain down point. Your boiler drain down point is placed on the inside of the vehicle, and as you can see, the fresh and waste is located on the outside of the vehicle. So your wastewater tank is this grey tap here, fresh water tank is this blue tap here. All you need to do is turn that. At the moment, as you can see, it's closed as it says on top. Turn that like so, and that will empty the tank. Obviously we're completely drained down now, so we've got no water in the vehicle. As you can see, these are both left open. But obviously if you have got water in the vehicle, just turn them to dump the water. Whilst we're on the topic of drain down points, as a rule of thumb, you'll have a big grid on the campsite, which you'll drive over. You can then turn each valve, including your boiler drain down point on the inside. Again, I'll show you how to do that. And then all the water will drain into that grid. Once you've done that, we recommend leaving all of your drain down points open, because as you're travelling, that last bit of water will vibrate and come out of the tap. So, and at the end of the day, it is just water, it's not going to harm anything. Just make sure that the majority of water is, of course, drained down on site. You always need to make sure that you drain down the vehicle after use. You never want it freezing. In the warmer seasons, it's not going to freeze, but I find if you get into the habit of draining it down, it'll avoid you from obviously getting frozen water in the vehicle. So as I say, fresh water drain down point is the blue one, wastewater is the grey one. At the back next to that, you'll notice there's almost like a little exhaust. That's just for your heating system. Don't worry about that. That's in essence like a chimney or a secondary chimney. At the rear of the vehicle, because you've got the bathroom at the back, your cassette toilet is lined up here. I'll open that up for you now. Now, as you can see, your cassette toilet is all the way at the back there. Please ensure that before removing the cassette toilet that the blade on the toilet is closed. If that blade is open and you go to remove the cassette, you could potentially break it and jam it. So always ensure that that blade is closed when removing it. I'll show you on the inside how that is done. It's dead simple. But when you are ready to remove it, all you need to do, it's quite difficult to see on the video, as I can appreciate, but you just simply pull up on this orange tab like so, and then you can remove the cassette and that becomes free. Now, to empty the cassette, all you need to do is pull out this little funnel here, so that just slides out, unscrew the grey cap, and using the orange button on the back, that will release an internal vacuum which will allow you to empty the entire cassette. You can put a bit of water in here just to swill it out, and if you've got any blue fluid, that can just go in the top there, just to obviously deal with the waste that ends up in the cassette. When you've done that, you've rinsed it out, you've emptied it, you're good to go. Put it back in the van. Just simply slide it back in, slide the funnel in like so it's flush, and then line it up and slide it in. You will notice you have also got this orange tab here which turns. This connects with the blade and allows you to open and close the blade. This should always stay in this position. You should never need to turn this. If that is off slightly, it won't allow you to put the cassette in, and again, if you try and put it in with it slightly off, it will ultimately snap the cassette. So just bear that in mind. When you're ready, all you need to do is simply line it up and slide it all the way in. Moving on from the cassette and onto the back, you've got a bike rack on this vehicle along with a reversing camera up at the top. And on this side, you can see, first up, you've got your gas locker. So with the gas locker open, you can house 2 gas bottles in here. You'll notice you've got your long pigtail as well already supplied with the vehicle, which will connect onto your gas regulator, which is that this here. That screws on and screws into the bottle. This allows you to feed the gas through the vehicle and obviously use gas when on board. Please ensure that when travelling the gas is turned off at the bottle due to safety. And then obviously when you're on site, you can simply turn that gas on and allow it to flow through to obviously be used. Next to the cassette, you can see that you've got an external gas point. You'll need a bayonet fitting for this to fit to your barbecue, but that simply connects into there. Again, you'll also need your gas on for this to operate. Turn it on, as indicated by the sticker here, and that will allow gas to flow through so you can cook outside. Moving on, you've then got your habitation door, which is next up. We'll go in there just in a second. Just wanted to point out your awning, which is on the side of this. This is a Dometic awning. Your awning pole is in the vehicle as you walk in, and that just connects onto there. Now, if it is a nice day like today, it's perfect conditions, there's not much of a breeze, so your awning can be used. Just please bear in mind, if it is a windy day and the wind does get underneath the awning, it does potentially run the risk of it ripping the awning and tearing it, if it's a high wind, tearing it from the actual vehicle itself, damaging the vehicle and potentially harming someone. So if it is windy, I recommend you just simply put the awning back in. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the risk. But when you are operating the awning, simply connect the awning pole, wind it out about ½ a metre, to the point where you can reach it, and then you can allow the legs to drop down and they will take the weight of the awning. You simply then walk it out to the point that you want the awning to extend to. Okie dokie, so we're now moving on to the inside of the vehicle. As we walk in, you can see your awning pole is just located there, and on the left hand side or on the right hand side, as you walk in, you've got your control panel. Before I start on the control panel, please bear in mind this vehicle hasn't had a valet yet. I just wanted to get the vehicle out to you in time for your collection. So if there's a couple of bits you notice, don't worry, it hasn't had a valet. Now, as I say, coming up to the control panel, this is the control panel that in essence controls your electrics and shows you your readings for your vehicle batteries and your freshwater tanks and things. To turn on, simply click the power button. As you can see, your lights do come on, and that will in essence allow you to get light into the vehicle. Underneath that, you've then got your light button, which will allow you to keep the control panel on but allow you to turn on and off the lights. And then you've got a little light which is located on the side. That's just for your door light on the outside of the vehicle. So if it's at night, you can obviously see what you're doing. You've then got a little box here which has a tap in it. That's for your pump. Click that on to activate the pump. Now, I'm not going to do that and leave that running because you've no water in the system, so you'd simply burn it out. So please ensure that before running the pump, you have of course got water in the system. Now, when you're on site and you've got water in the tank and you're moving on your pitch, click that button, go to your taps, including your shower, and then turn it on and turn it to hot. What that will do is it'll pull water from the freshwater tank into the boiler and then out of the tap. It'll spurt and splutter, and then when it's running steadily, you're good to go. You've primed your system for your hot water. Once you've done that, flick it over to cool, do the exact same, and when it's running steadily, again, you have primed your system. Do that for all your taps as well. Now, the reason I tell you to do it on hot first is you need to get water into the boiler, really. If you get water into the boiler and that's the first thing you do, naturally it's going to take a lot of time to heat up the boiler, with there being 10 litres of water that it's got to heat up. So after 30-40 minutes it'll be up to temperature. So when you're on site and if that's the first thing you do, by the time you've got the vehicle sorted and you're ready to use your hot water, it'll be nice and hot for you. And I'll show you how to obviously heat that shortly. One last thing on the taps as well, they've each got a micro switch on which will activate and deactivate the tap, the pump rather, for whenever you need it, so you can leave all your pump on. Obviously that is if you have got water in the system. Do not leave the pump on if you've no water in the vehicle. Moving back up to the control panel, on the other side, so they're your functional buttons really. On this side you've then got your indicators. If you hold down, this shows your leisure battery. As you can see, it needs a bit of a run at the moment because we're not plugged in, so it needs to be plugged in to mains electric, but you can see your levels there. And then your freshwater level, again with nothing in the fresh level tank, the freshwater tank, so it's just showing obviously a low reading there. Finally, you've got a switch here. This is just for a light which is on the inside of the vehicle, which is just behind me, as you can see, just that mood light in there. Okie dokie, so moving over to the well system. This is for your heating, so you've got two options. So at the top you've got your water heating, you can tell that by obviously the tap, and below that you've got your heating for the vehicle. You can tell that because it's got the in essence the back of a van on there. Now at the moment you can see you've got a red light on the water heating. It's just indicating that I've not got any power to the vehicle because I'm not hooked up to electric currently, and I've not got any gas, so it's not allowing me to heat the water for a very good reason, because obviously there's nothing to fuel it. So that's the reason why you have got a red exclamation mark. I'll come back onto the water once I can talk you through the options, but just beneath this you have got your vehicle heating. Your option with this, all you need to do is click through your options, as you can see. So firstly you've got off. You've then got 1 kilowatt electric, so if you wanted, so that little squiggly line indicates that you can run the vehicle off, the vehicle's heating off 1 kilowatt electric. You've then got the option of running it off 2 kilowatt electric, or 3 kilowatt electric. 9 times out of 10 you'll run it off that. Or if you wanted to run it solely off gas, if you're wild camping, you can do so. If you click once more, you'll also get 2 squiggly lines and gas. So if you are on site and it's struggling to get up to temperature, say for example it's it's a cool day, click it again and you can run it off a mixture. And then return it back to off. Now, as I say, I've not got any access to any gas or anything at the moment, so it's not going to heat the vehicle, it's not going to do anything. So just bear that in mind. And that is, again, why you're getting that exclamation mark. It's just showing that there's an error because I've not got anything to fuel it. You can also change the temperature by going plus and minus, depending on obviously what you need. It's got a few options through there. Again, depending on realistically if it is, you know, a colder month that you're using it on. Okie dokie, up at the top you've then got your water heating. You've then got, just one second, you've got the option of running this off gas, a mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt electric, as you can see by the squiggly line, or a mixture of gas and 2 kilowatt electric, or the off button. So again, it really depends on what your scenario is. If you're wild camping, you'll obviously run the entire system off gas purely. If you are on site, you can run it off a mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt electric. I recommend, with the water, running it off a gas and 2 kilowatt electric, just to get it up to temperature. And you can always flick it over to purely gas or gas and 1 kilowatt electric. It'll just get it up to temperature the quickest, really. Moving away from the control panel into your kitchen area. We've spoken obviously about priming your system for the tap. Your microwave is up at the top. Please bear in mind that that will only work when you are hooked up on a site, with it being a 230 volt appliance. Below you've then got your hob, one electric ring as well, which is dead handy. The other ones are gas, you'll need your gas on for that to operate. And your oven and grill, which is just below. In all these cupboards you've got a really good bit of storage in here. They just simply open up like so, and these are on sliders. It's got loads of storage, but underneath, just into here, you will also notice you've got some red taps, which are just located on the left hand side. They are isolator valves and will allow you to isolate sections of the vehicle. You don't need to bother with them. They're really just for the technicians when working on the vehicle. They're just there for our safety when checking through the vehicle. But you should never need to change them or turn them. As I say, they're mainly just for us. But if we advise you to, they are just located there. And on the other side, you've then got your fridge. This is a Dometic fridge, and it's a three-way system. The reason it's a three-way system is, in essence, there's 3 ways to power it. So you can either run it off 230 volt, which indicates by this little plug icon, like so. You can run it off 12 volt leisure battery, so if you're travelling, you can run it off your leisure battery, or you can run it off your gas for every wild camping. So you've got your options here at the top section here, just like that. You can see it's in the off position, but then when you want it on, just simply turn through the options. Now, on these items here, on these icons, as I've mentioned, you're going to use them like your heating in different scenarios if you're on site or not. Now, a lot of people think when they're wild camping they can run the fridge off the 12 volt leisure battery. That's not the case. If it was, it would simply drain the battery of all of its power. With that in mind, when you're wild camping you need to run it off gas. It will not allow you to run the fridge off 12 volt. However, when you are travelling, you can of course run it off your 12 volts, because this vehicle has got a built-in alternator which will send power and a charge to your leisure battery from the vehicle battery, which will ultimately allow you to power the fridge. On the other side of the fridge, you've then got the temperature dial, so you can change the temperature. And if you are running this off gas, just simply push that in. That's the igniter button, and will allow you to get it ignited. There's a little dial on here as well, just to indicate that. In the fridge, you've got your freezer up at the top, fridge is below. It does a very good job at maintaining the temperature of this fridge, but not the best of jobs at getting it down to temperature. I recommend putting stuff in there to maintain the temperature. So with that in mind, put cooled things in the fridge to keep them cool. Put frozen things already frozen in the freezer to keep them frozen, basically. Moving to the front, you've got your lounge space. Underneath here there are actually 2 flip-up travelling seats as well, should you ever need them. And this area does turn into a bed. Now, you turn this area into a bed just by simply sliding out the 2 sections here, and that creates a middle section. Then all you need to do is pull these. It's a little bit hard to do with one hand, I'll do it in a minute, just into the middle to create a double bed. I'll just do that for you now. And just like that, you can see you've got a nice double bed at the front. which turns this into a 4-berth. You can see just by pulling them cushions together, your backrest can then drop to form your bed. Now I've just made the lounge back up. On this side I've just dismantled it, just to reveal underneath you have got a travelling seat. When you lift this up, you have got obviously this bit in the way. All you need to do is simply push on this tab here on both sides, and that will release this and that will allow you to fold it down. You've got one on each side. Underneath here you've got your travelling seats. So these are forward facing. To operate these, dead simple. You've got this lever here. When you pull that, that allows you to pull the back forward, and then all you need to do is pull that, push that down, and that will allow you to bring the seat up. I'll do that for you now. And as you can see, with that flipped up, that fully erects to face forward, and this seat, all you need to do is pull this up and this connects into place like so. So then you've got a travelling seat. You've got the same again on the other side, and then you're good to go. You've got these covers as well, just to pop over them to keep them protected. And just like that, you can see you are back to your travelling seat in the folded position. Okie dokie, so we're now moving on from the lounge area. As I mentioned, you have got that mechanism down there as well. But moving on from the lounge area, I forgot to mention in the kitchen, you have got a bit more storage here. You'll also notice that this vehicle has got a solar panel. This is the battery charger, or the monitor rather, for the solar panel. It's otherwise known as a regulator, and that will just regulate the amount of power that's going into your leisure battery. Now you don't need to do anything with the solar panel, it just does its thing. Just bear in mind you will need your power on for that to operate. Before I move out of the kitchen as well, on all of your windows you have got fly screens and blackout blinds. And you can of course open all your windows like so, and then if you tighten this black thing just in here, that'll allow you to tighten it just like so. You can put them on venting as well should you need any air to come through. And when you're closing them, just simply make sure that they're closed tight so the seal is back in, so no water can get through. So moving on from the kitchen area into the bedroom area, you've got plenty of storage all along the top. Again, you have also got a bit of storage underneath the bed. I'll show you that just in a second. On the right hand side you'll notice you have got some TV points. Your aerial is located as well in this cabinet. So to turn your aerial on, this is your amplifier. Simply flick the switch. It's on, there we are. You had a little red light then, just to indicate that it was on. You have got a dial on here to increase and decrease the range should you need it. And then your aerial pole is just located here. To operate this, to get a better signal, all you need to do is unscrew this white cap here, push the pole up like so, and then you can tighten that back into position. You can then turn this around by simply swiveling the pole to angle and direct the aerial head, and that, as I say, will better your signal. Now, like your windows, you need to ensure that your aerial is down. You need to also ensure that nothing is obstructing the aerial for when you're travelling, because the last thing you want to do is hit that on anything. As I mentioned, you've more storage throughout the vehicle in this end. And you have also got an area, a skylight right above with the fly screen and blackout blind built in like your windows. In the back you've got your two beds. Underneath your left hand bed you can see that you've got your fuse box. So in here is where your fuses are located, as well as your RCD breaker. So if the vehicle ever trips, you just need to come to this point here. So it's nice and compact. It's all together as well, which is dead handy to obviously access. So if anything happens, you can come to this point in the vehicle. Underneath the bed, I've just lifted the mattress up. You can see I'll just lift this up here. You have got a bit of storage as well for bedding, should you need it for the front bed. And that is where your RCD breaker is located, as I mentioned. You've got another pump in here as well, and just be careful about knocking that. Just make sure obviously this area is well contained when using it for storage. As you can see, located under the other bed, you've got a load of storage, which is dead handy, and these are all on slide out drawers as well. Okie dokie, so we're now moving on from the bedroom area and into your bathroom. In the bathroom, again, we've spoken about your taps and your shower, that all applies. Do bear in mind, careful to store things in here because it could run the risk of cracking the shower, so just bear that in mind. Down here, you have a bit of storage, and also at the top, you've got where your carpets are located and your storage area for hanging space. Your toilet is here. As I mentioned outside, the main thing that you need to know is that the blade is always open is always closed rather when the cassette is not in use. The blade is this piece of plastic here. So push that away from you to open it, pull it towards you to close it. Now, as I say, when it's not in use, close it. When it is in use, open it up just by pushing it away, and that will allow all the waste to drop into the cassette. Then using that blue button, that activates your flush, and that will allow you to flush the system. Once you've done that, pull the blade back, and that will close it. Now, you close the blade for two reasons. The main reason being is it stops any any odours from escaping from the cassette, but it also gets you into the habit of removing, when removing the cassette, for that to be closed, so you don't run the risk of it jamming. This blue button, as I say, will activate your flush. Do bear in mind that you will need your pump on for that to operate. Now finally, what I forgot to mention is your final drain down point on the vehicle is located underneath the other single bench seat. This is your boiler drain down point, of course, and it's that orange little valve there. All you need to do to open it is simply push away. You can hear that trickling out, and then to close it, simply pull away pull towards you. It's a little bit difficult to see on the camera, but there again, push away, pull towards you to close. Again, you always need to make sure that that's closed when using the vehicle, and then you need to make sure it's open when the vehicle is not in use. You've also got another isolation valve tap there. Again, that is not required. So that concludes the handover video on the Elddis Majestic. I hope you enjoyed.